Hi, my name is Heather. I'd like to welcome you to the Knits and Things podcast. This is episode 23, Viajante Start. If you're looking for me on the internet, I am Heather219 on Ravelry and Instagram. If you find me on Instagram, it'll just take a minute. I like to kind of weed out, not weed out, that sounds horrible. I like to just make sure that the people that, Instagram I try and keep as more of my crafty friends, and personal friends, and I just try and make sure that nobody from work is trying to follow me. I do have one child who keeps insisting, and I think she even had her cousin try and friend me on Instagram to see if that would work. But I teach at my local school, and so it's kind of hard to keep business and personal life separate because we're all so close, and I'm neighbors with the people I work with, but eventually there's got to be a line somewhere, and so I try and keep Instagram very personal. Just that's my fun place. That's where I go to just be me, and so I just check you out, make sure you're a knitter, and then I'll friend you, I promise. So that's me. And if you are looking on Ravelry, there is also a Knits and Things podcast group on Ravelry where we can talk about things on the podcast and join in on things like knit-alongs, which there's going to be a knit-along start this time. So find me online and say hi. Find me in real life and say hi. That'll be fine too. I'm going to jump right into the knitting because I have a lot to talk about. I think it's been a long 2 weeks in between recording this time. So I'm going to jump right into the knitting. If there's time at the end, I may do a little Gerald McBoing Boing update where I talk about my son, but I'm going to save that for last and really only talk about it if there's extra time because we're going to be doing all this stuff for the next 2-3 months. So, all right. So, and how did I get off of there? All right, so I'm in a little different spot. Number one, I hope it's not too noisy. I know I can hear the hound dogs barking out there. It's a very warm day today. Yay, because it snowed yesterday. So it's warm outside and we don't have the air on yet. So I have my window open and my fan going for ventilation, but it makes it kind of noisy. And also my iPad was about to die, so I had to come this way so I can plug in. So I hope everything's okay. I hope nothing's annoying to anybody. If it is, see you next episode. So I'm going to jump right into the knitting. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was what I finished. And I say I finished this. I might not be able to deal with the dogs myself. I say that I finished this object, or finished this knitting, but it's technically not done. So I was in the I am in the Harry Potter Knit and Crochet House Cup, and I submitted an owl proposal. And an owl proposal is a project that's a little bit more involved than just a pair of socks or a hat or in some cases even a shawl. It depends on the knitter and it depends on what the plan is for. I mean, it might be your first intarsia shawl that you're going to do a steek to and all this other stuff. So it depends on the knitter and it depends on what your plans are. So my plan was I want to do, for this whole year, I want to knit on sock blanket or sock yarn squares to make a blanket with eventually. And so I submitted a proposal. I actually submitted a proposal for 12 squares, looking at how long the term was, and I was thinking I would do a sock. Was thinking I would do a square a week, and they didn't like that. They wanted me to do more. And as I kept thinking about it, if I just did one sock a week, a blanket that was 52 squares long, because it's just the sock yarn square. This was the first one. A blanket that's 52 squares big is not going to be enough. It wouldn't be enough. Maybe if it was a baby blanket, it would be enough. But for me, and I like a nice long blanket, I like to be completely covered. Even if I'm sitting snuggling up on the couch, I want the blanket to completely cover me. So it wouldn't have been enough anyway. So I changed my proposal and I said that I would do 24 squares for this term, and the term is over today. This is the last day. And so I finished these up last week and laid them out and got my proposal submitted. I'm waiting to hear back if I got my full points for my house. And we shall see. I've left the ends on because I plan on using those to attach to the next square. So I have a purpose for these. I left the middle blank because I haven't decided yet if I'm going to close the middle up or not. You are left with a pretty decent hole. Now this square has been blocked, and this hole is flat, I mean, it's not too noticeable. And I'm thinking that I may leave them. So I'll show you the others. The others have not been blocked. I didn't block any of them but this one just to see what the final size would be. But I think you can pretty much, I think you can see, you know, and definitely you can see there. It's got like a little, I'm not going to say it, but it's a little bit of a raised bump there. So I haven't quite decided if I'm going to sew that up. I think I can take that extra length and go around and do kind of a Kitchener type close and seal that up. But like I said, you can barely see it here, and if I leave them there, then it would be a design feature. I think it would be kind of neat to see the little raised holes on the blanket, especially with these closed ridges, because the way I'm doing my blanket, I've seen several podcasters doing this same square, and the way I'm doing my blanket is when you yarn over to get the increases on those points. And this is a free pattern, so you can find tons of different versions of them online and on Ravelry. So you do yarn over to get the increases, but then on the next row when I go through, I knit into the back of the yarn over to make a closed, smooth fabric. I have seen people that do just the yarn overs, and it looks fine. It's just you're going to get a different finished effect depending on which way you do it, and it's, you know, personal preference, which pattern you're following, all that kind of stuff. So I think it might be nice to have that one hole there in each square since everything else is closed up and smooth. So I haven't decided exactly what to do. So that's why the center has been left. But the tails on the end, I am going to use those when I sew the squares together. Not all of them, but some of them, most of them will be used to help sew in. So I've got 24 squares, and I've shown most of these. The ones I think are the coolest. This one is cool because it's just a cheapy yarn from like Michael's or Joann's or somewhere, like a $3.99 skein. It might even have been a Vanna's Choice. This one I really like. This is I believe a Dragonfly Fibers sock, a sock mini where you can buy the skein to do the heels and toes. So I really like that one. It's a nice, deep, lovely red. This was a Noro skein, and I really liked that one. I really like how that one, you know, the large color runs with Noro. I haven't even gotten into all the colors that are in that skein because there's a lot you can see on the very edge there. I don't know if you can tell with the lighting tonight, but there's purple coming in right there, and so there's a lot of purple in this skein, and you haven't even seen it yet. So I definitely will do some more of the Noro skeins. This one was an Into the World colorway. I don't remember the color name. I've never been in the Into the World Club, but I would like to be. I think I'm going to put myself on the wait list. And I wasn't too sold on this skein, the different colors. I don't know that I ever would have picked it out for myself, but I really like the way the square knit up. And I did another one, and it looks exactly like this. So their dyeing is really spot on. This is one of my favorites. This is Dragonfly Fibers. It's their Genie sock base, and this is the Reluctant Dragon colorway. I love, love, love this yarn, and I'll talk about this again later in Everyone Needs a Thneed, because I got more of it. Beautiful. It's got cashmere in it. That's why it's so yummy. And then there was another one. I had very few negative emotions. This is also a mood blanket. Did I tell you that part? So it's also a mood blanket. I couldn't tell you exactly what all the emotions are, but I tried to keep them positive. The models that I was following, I followed Nicole from the Positively Knitting podcast. I followed a lot of her notes when I was setting everything up. And I noticed that she had no negative emotions, but sometimes, you know, I think I put in two. I think I put tired in, and I put worried, because sometimes you're tired, and sometimes you're worried, especially when you're me. So I did do, with the last little couple weeks that I've had, I did do 2 of these skeins, and this is an Ellen's Half Pint colorway. I don't remember if there was even a color name or if there's just a number, but this was the skein that I pulled out for worried, and I did do 2 of these because this is how worried I've been lately. We've had quite the time lately with some diabetes struggles with my son, so I did 2 worried skeins, or 2 worried squares, because I was very worried. So 24 squares in all, and they are living in this cute little box that I got from Michael's. So there's the 24. Whoops! there's the 24. And there goes the worried skeins right out of the box. 24 squares in all so far. Unfortunately, this is probably only a quarter of what I will do altogether. Maybe a third, depends on what it looks like once I get done with a third. If I do another two sets of 24 to see, I don't know. So I will not be doing this as my owl for next time with Harry Potter. I think I'm going to sign up again, but I don't think I'm going to make this my owl because it did kind of stop me from doing other things. I actually got a good hint from somebody else in my same pride that they made an owl to do X number of socks. And I always wish I had more socks, more knitted socks, either for myself or for gifts. And so if I make it an owl, I'll be more likely to do it and get it done and focus on sock, sock, sock. And with the warmer weather, I think that's going to be a really good proposal. So once I do 2 more sets of 24, I'll probably do a square here and there and see if it fits in with the next set of class lists. If you don't know what I'm talking about with the Harry Potter, you should go check it out. I think it's pretty interesting, and the people that run it spend a lot of time organizing it, and it runs very smoothly. You would swear you were going to a real school. You have at the first of the month different class lists come out, and what I've been doing is I would go into the class list and see what the description was and see what it was that I was working on or planning on working on, or what I could work on that would fit that class description, knit it up and turn it in. And then you get points for your house, and kind of like with the whole house cup thing in Harry Potter. So I don't know. I think it's a fun way to get some knitting done and to talk with other people who are crazy about Harry Potter like I am. So that is the only thing that I finished. Right? Yes, because I spent a lot of the last 2 weeks finishing those up. So the sock yarn blanket was finished. Oh no, I finished a preemie hat. So I've been teaching some 6th graders at my school to knit, and I started them on a hat. From the One Skein Wonders book, and I shouldn't have. It was actually too big of a project to start with. A couple of them have done it. Matter of fact, today was knitting, and the one girl, we bound off her hat today. The 2 of the adults that are with me had already, they were on their second hat, binding off. And one of the girls last week forgot her hat, so she actually bound off the second hat from my coworker that she brought in. So then I thought, well, they've been knitting for a while now, and they had the knit stitch down because they had like 11 inches of stockinette to knit. That's why I said it was a little too long. For some reason, when I looked at the directions, I saw like 4 to 6 inches of stockinette, and it was 11. They needed to cast on and then knit and stockinette stitch for 11 inches before binding off, because it's just the hat that you kind of, you make a straight bind off at the top, and then you fold it down and put a button on either side. So it's a really cute hat, but it was a lot of work. So we're going to knit preemie hats now in worsted weight yarn. And I knitted the first one, and there it is. So I finished that up this weekend with my son when we were waiting for a movie. Interruptions. Oh, and it looks very bright now. What did I do? What did I touch to get it to look so nice and bright? Maybe I just haven't gone near the light enough. Okay. Anyway, so I finished this up while we were waiting for a movie. We went to see Noah. It was excellent. Oh my goodness, you have to see it. It's really, really good. So with this hat, I figured this way I can teach them to cast on, and it's not a bazillion stitches to cast on. I think it's only 42 stitches. And again, free pattern. This hat is called the Too Early Birthday Preemie Hat Pattern by Catherine Vaughn. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's very cute. Anyway, they will learn to cast on by doing the cast on. They'll learn how to split it onto 2 needles, because in order to do this, we're going to have to use 2 of our same size needles. Half of the stitches on one side, half of the stitches on the other. They'll learn to purl, so they get these purl ridges every once in a while. They will learn to decrease for the crown of the hat, and then they'll learn to sew in ends when they have to sew in the final end and the beginning end. And so I think that's a really cute pattern. I think this is a much more manageable project. I don't know, I still like having them do a lot of just straight knitting and straight stockinette to begin with, but maybe this size hat in just stockinette would be good to start with, because that's a lot of stockinette. So, I don't know, but the girls that I have this year are very, very capable. And then my son is in the group too, so he's a little slow, and he likes to be goofy and silly and have people laugh at him, so he entertains us while we knit. Anyway, so that is a finished object as well. Charity preemie hats. And that's all for thing 1. So on to thing. Alright, so thing 2 is spinning. I finished spinning the Wool Gatherings BFL. And this is the one that I'm going to try and do a... Oh, look at my hair. This is the one that I'm going to try and do a fractal spin for. So this is the bobbin that is all done up with the long color runs. And this is the only one I've done. But I did bring... I don't know if I showed this last time, the little puffs. So this is very long runs of color because this was half of the braid. I took the whole length of the braid and did I split it in half lengthwise? Yes, so I took the whole length of the braid, folded it over, split it in half. So now I've got one half of the braid here, one half of the braid here. I spun this whole half on this bobbin. I spun the entire half on this bobbin because it can't be a whole half, right? So that is one bobbin of the long color runs. So this will be long sections of green and long sections of red and long sections of yellow. Then what I did with the other half is, with the other half, I split the width of that half into 4 sections. I think I did show you this. 1, 2, because it sounds very familiar now. 3 and 4. And so when I spin these, what I should get is smaller sections because it's a thinner strip of green, and it's a thinner strip of yellow, and it's a thinner strip of red. So I should get short color runs over and over and over again as I spin these up. So this is what I need to start spinning next to finish this up. And here's the tag in case you're interested. Again, this is Wool Gatherings, Happiness Yarn and Friends. And this was just a 100% BFL skein, 4 ounces. And I got this several years ago, so if you're looking at the price, don't look too closely. Things might have changed. So that's been fun to knit, and it's been kind of sitting there taunting me. But I've had so many other things to work on and things to do. And the sock yarn squares, I had to switch. I don't think I told this whole story last time. I had to switch halfway through. I was knitting with a Knit Picks needle. You know where this is going? I was knitting with a very long size 2 Knit Picks needle and doing the magic loop, and that was fine. And halfway through, I was knitting on one square, and I actually had messed up on my increases and decided I wanted to take it out. So when I went to back the stitches out, I had my hand on the needle here, hand on stitches here, and pulled, and pop, the whole needle came apart. So, you know, the cable came off of the needle. So I just switched, and I finished up the lot of squares on 2 small, size 2, 12 or 16 inches. So it was a little bit more of a tight feeling and a little smaller needle, and it kind of hurt my hand a little bit. So I was reluctant to do any spinning this during that same time that I wanted to get the squares finished because I knew it would really hurt my hand. And I was having a lot of numbness in my thumb. So I wanted to kind of back off with that and just leave it. So hopefully next time that spinning will be done, and I'll have another skein of the white done because I want to still knit or still spin up a bobbin of the white from the sheep and wool fleece that I got last year. So that is it for thing 2. Okay, so other things you can think, excuse me, is the things that I am planning on knitting. And today it's also going to be the things that I actually am knitting because I forgot to talk about them in thing 1. All I talked about was finished objects. So, other things you can think. I tossed around the idea of knitting the Viajante pattern from Martina Bem, and several people thought that that would be a good idea. So we're having a kind of impromptu, informal wanna knit Viajante with us. If you have already started Viajante, come on and share with us. If you would like to start it, because we are. And I started it over the weekend because, of course, the teacher has to knit or has to know what she's talking about, right? So she needed to cast on this weekend so that she would have notes and tips and advice to give out for the people just starting, right? That's what my excuse was anyway. So I cast this on, must have been Friday night. We had a very long weekend. It was teacher planning day. I feel so sorry for my parents. I actually do, because we haven't been in school at all. We haven't had full weeks in forever. This week will be a full week, and it's going to be a long week, I can tell. So I cast on Friday night because we had all Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I cast on Friday night and had this to work on a little bit at the lacrosse fields on Saturday, but not too much because it was pouring down rain the whole time. And I'm up to right about 100 stitches for the corner part, the little hood part. So Viajante is a pattern from Martina Bem, or Bame, that is basically a stockinette tube that can be flattened out and used as a shawl because of the way the increases go. It can be flattened out into a regular traditional shawl shape and worn as a shawl. It is also knit in lace weight yarn, so it's very light and airy. You can see how nice and light and thin. This is lace weight. I went with lace weight, although I think you can get a similar and a very nice effect as well from a fingering or light fingering weight yarn. But at the edge, at the top edge, you knit a swatch of garter ridge so that it can be used as a hood to cover you up if it's raining or extra windy or something. So you start with the hood and you knit down and you follow all of her lovely instructions that are not free, so I won't say too much more. But it's really nice and light and airy. And so I'm hoping you can see the colorway. Oh, that looks good there. I'm using a colorway called Darkest Hour, and this is a Leading Men Fiber Arts yarn. It's their Ghost Light, which is their lace weight. And it's kind of a tone-on-tone black. Some places are almost a faded black or gray, and then you get pops every once in a while of the dark true black. So I really like it. I actually tossed around. When I get to Everyone Needs a Need, you'll see what I was considering. I considered for a little while, I considered using a different yarn. When I originally looked at the pattern, I had seen Leslie from the Knit Girls talk about the pattern, and she was using a hand-spun lace weight, very thin lace weight. And then I also saw Megan from Just Run It, and she knit it in the yarn that the pattern was written for, which was the Wollemize lace garn. And so I assumed it was lace weight, but I think technically the lace garn is a fingering weight, or it's a little more substantial. It's a little heavier than a true lace weight, than the lace weight that I'm using. And it's definitely not like a cobweb or anything, which I've seen people on Ravelry do. So, and I had bought yarn and everything. And then once I finally looked at the pattern and saw the gauge that Martina Bem has listed, I thought, oh, well, maybe I should do it in fingering. And I tossed around the idea because I had a fiber festival coming up, and I tossed around the idea of finding new yarn, and then I tossed around this idea, and I said, well, what if I knit it in that? And so I went back and forth, but I came back to my original because I want this to be a go with anything type of shawl that I can always have with me. I can always have in my bag when I'm going into a movie theater, or in the summer when you're wearing, lighter weight shirts and maybe something with small straps or something, or sleeveless, so that I can have it to cover up with because I'm always cold. So I wanted something that would go with everything, and so this was my best choice, was the black, because I think it's going to go with most things. Even if I happen to be wearing something brown that day, it's still a neutral, and it's going to be okay just to cover up with. But something that is a little brighter, like a blue or a green or a purple or something, is not necessarily, well, it might be pretty and it might, hold my attention more while I'm knitting it. I don't think it's going to be as functional. So I kind of bit the bullet and stuck with the black, and I'm really happy with it. It's very nice and light and airy and soft. And the Leading Men Fiber Arts Ghost Light has silk in it. It's 85% silk, 85% superwash merino, and 15% silk, I believe. I don't think I have the tag in here with me. I can see. If I find it, I will hold it up for you. But I don't think I have it. I think it's in a different bag. It might actually be in this bag right here. But it's very nice. So I'm very glad that I did that and kind of went with that because it's very nice. Oh, here it is. Yes. Oh, no. 80% superwash merino. Oh, what am I thinking of? No, wrong tag. That's what I'm thinking of. Here it is. Yes, I still was wrong. 80% super fine merino and 20% silk. So there's their tag for Ghost Light. And you can see darkest hour. It's 875 yards. So I think I have exactly what the original shawl was knit with. I don't think I'm going to be short on yarn at all. It's amazing what reading the pattern does for you, huh? And if you've never seen Leading Men Fiber Arts before, there's their logo with the little glasses. Very cute. And they are shop.leadingmenfiberarts.com. So, and I really like their colors. They have some really nice colors. It was a tough choice for me when I was trying to decide on which color to get. I had a bunch of them written down. I think I had like 6 written down. And I wrote them down, and then I looked online, and then I walked away, and a couple days later I'd go back and look again, and I'd look, and I'd walk away, and I'd come back, because I wanted to be sure to get the right color, and I think I really do like the darkest hour. So that is what I've started, and again, the knit along is going to run from April through when summer starts, which will be into June, so plenty of time. There is a ton of stockinette. It's a very big shawl. You knit pretty much your whole wingspan until the shawl is as long as your wingspan. So there's a lot of stockinette, and I know for some people that's going to take a long time. For some people, like Megan, it takes 12 days. But for the rest of us, it may take a while. And I know that people are working on other things too, so that is it. The only, there aren't really a bunch of prizes for this one like there were for the sweater knit along. I will offer up a pattern to people who participate and finish the project in the thread in the Knits and Things podcast group on Ravelry. That's all I have for right now, though. I may find some yarn that might do to go as well, but for right now it's just going to be a pattern. I finally got all the prizes out for the sweater knit along. And I always felt like, you're supposed to be mailing those packages. You're walking to your car and it's 5 o'clock at night and you know the post office is closed. Why didn't you leave an hour earlier? So if you were waiting on a prize, hopefully it is there by now. The last prize went out last week, and it was to my winner from Austria. Yes, from Austria. That was fun at the post office. So all the prizes are out. If you didn't get what was promised you, please let me know. But everything went out, and I did do confirmation numbers and everything, so I should be able to check and see what happened if something is not there. But hopefully by now everything is there. Did I hear from everybody? I didn't think I wrote it down. No, I still needed to hear from, and I will go back and check with her. I still need to hear from one person, but that was just a pattern. It's not like I needed to have a mailing address or anything. So all of those should be out. Oh, I did want to mention one thing on Viajante, the pattern notes. There is a little bit of discussion over which increase to do. I stuck with the increase that the pattern writer did, that Martina Bem suggested. There's another one that can be used instead, but I just went with what she did because her finished product is beautiful, so I just stayed with that. So if you're wondering, once you get to that part of the pattern, if you're wondering what you should do for your increases, I'm sticking with what she said to do. No problem. All right. I also went back to, now that I have all my time freed up and I've done my Harry Potter, I also went back to my folded pullover, and that is a pattern by Vera Valimaki that I'm knitting in Miss Bab's Tart in the Vlad's colorway. And I'm a little further along on the sleeves than I was before, which is actually a lot of knitting, because if you can see, and yep, you can see it, if you can see this little stretch of stockinette in here that looks pretty bumpy and lumpy, I actually ripped out the increases that I had done on the sleeves because I didn't do them right. I didn't have them spaced out correctly. I had one at 12 inches where it was supposed to be, and then one was like or not 12 inches, one at 12 rows, and one, then I did another one at 6 rows, or I had one that, I don't know, it looked ugly, and it wasn't correct. So I ripped back down to here yesterday, and I knit the rest of this yesterday while we were watching movies. And we watched, what did we watch? We watched Captain Phillips last night. That was very good. I had to put it down a couple times because it was a little intense. Just a little, but it was a very, very good movie. Very good movie. So, that is the pattern. I'm knitting that on size 4 needles, which is what the pattern suggests. And with the Viajante as well, I'm knitting the same size needles that the pattern suggests. Size 3 to start, and then you switch to a size 4. So, those are the 2 things that I'm working on right now. And that is about it. Those are going to be the 2 things until I'm done with the... Those are going to be the 2 things until I am done with the folded. I actually started to go back to my Follow Your Arrow shawl. I don't think it's meant for me to do this shawl. I really don't. So I had about maybe 10 more rows done on the second clue from where you see it now. And I knew I had messed up. So I ripped it back and put it back on the needles on Friday. Maybe Saturday. And I knitted a couple rows. And I thought I got the pattern back to where it should be. And then I realized that you need to be doing something different here and here in this second clue to make it look right. And I was only doing the something different here. So I need to rip out again. The good news is it's only, I think, maybe 2 pattern repeats, maybe 3. Not even pattern repeats, 2 sets of new rows. So it's not much, and I'll just take it back again, but not right now. That's one of my big things is this, and this is the reason, I know this is the reason that I have so many different projects going, because when I get discouraged on it, I put it away for a while. Like, I want it to think, and I want to not be mad at it anymore. Like, right now I'm really mad at that yarn and that shawl, and it's not the yarn and the shawl's fault. It's my fault. But still, I'm going to wait for a while. So, that's all of the actual active knitting that I have to talk about. Right? Is there anything else in here? No. These are socks, but I haven't worked on them. And so the rest of the things that I want to talk about are new acquisitions, because I went to a fiber festival. So let's move on to Everyone Needs a Thneed, which is also going to be Mulberry Street. So for Everyone Needs a Thneed, this is actually going to be Everyone Needs a Thneed and Mulberry Street all together, because for Mulberry Street, I went to the Homespun Yarn Party. So the Homespun Yarn Party is just a small local fiber festival here in the DC, Baltimore area. And it's all local vendors, and it's all small business owners. It's all privately owned. It's not big mass companies. The biggest company, I guess you could say, is like probably Dragonfly Fibers. Because she's got, I know, several employees with her. But it's all small independent dyers, independent business owners, and it's a really nice idea for a fiber festival to have everything be small and personal. And so they have it in a local mall here that also it's an old mill, and it's made into a mall, so it's got retail space, but they also have a ballroom, and so we use the ballroom each year, and it's just, you know, wall to wall fiber, just vendors around. And oh my goodness, I zipped my yarn into my bag. Oh my goodness. Oh, there, it's undone, but I hope it's not broken now. I was trying to see if I had the list for the Homespun Yarn Party, and I don't think I do. Anyway, Homespun Yarn Party, it was wonderful. I got lots of good stuff. I actually got there a little bit late because Zachary had lacrosse. So I got there a little bit late. So I was there for like the last half of it because it ran from noon to 5. And I got there about 2:30-ish maybe. And so it was nice to see old friends that I hadn't seen before and see some of the vendors that I hadn't seen in a long time. And to meet some new friends too. But then I felt so rushed, and I feel like it's such a small space and it's such a short time that there's not a lot of time to stop and chit chat. So when you saw people that you might have liked to catch up with, there wasn't really space or time to do it, especially with me, because I felt like I was running behind. So I'm very glad that Maryland Sheep and Wool is coming up soon. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable here. Maryland Sheep and Wool is coming up soon, and so I will get a chance to do things like that, like sit and stop and talk and chat and, you know, relax and knit for a little bit in between. So, all right. And I know I'm saying so a lot today. Sorry. So, Maryland Sheep and Wool is coming, so what did I get at the party? I did get my skein of Genie sock. Let's start there, since that was the one thing that I knew I was getting. That was the one thing that I had to get when I went in the building. And I did get it. I actually went to the booth. I went to the Dragonfly Fibers booth first and last. So I went there first. And like I said, I got there about halfway through. And so a lot of people had already been there. But it was still mobbed. And I was indecisive. I kind of wanted to go and look and see what was there and then get my skein. I didn't have the colorway in mind because I think it's hard to buy a dyer like that online when you know that you'll be able to see them in person soon. So I was having a hard time deciding, so I just left the booth and let somebody else get in my space where I was just standing there thinking. So when I went back, this colorway was still left. This is Starry Night, and I've heard lots of people talking about it. I was listening to Stash and Burn this morning while I was getting ready for work, and they talked about this same colorway. This is Starry Night, which is a Vincent Van Gogh colorway, and there was a Vincent Van Gogh colorway there earlier, and it was one of the ones that I had been considering. Very similar colors, done more as solids and not as much of the overwash, but I love that overwash look. I just think it's so pretty. So blues and purples and blacks and that yellowy green that everybody likes so much these days. So this is their Genie sock, and their Genie sock is superwash merino, cashmere, and nylon. I knit socks out of it. I knit a pair of socks on a plane, and I think that the nylon in it is going to help to hold it up, even though it's got the soft cashmere in it, and it feels like a substantial, like a hard wearing sock. So I'm hoping that that it wears nicely, but I knit socks out of these. I don't know that this is something that I would do for myself for a shawl, and I don't know how it would work up as a shawl, but I like it for socks. So I'm going to do a pair of socks for myself out of this, since this is like my treasure skein. Look at that color right there. Look at that right there. Beautiful. So, Genie sock, that was on the list, and that got ticked off the list. All right. So the next thing I'm going to show you is, and I just have one of them, but I did buy two. I bought a whole nother set of lace weight. I bought a whole nother set of lace weight to possibly do Viajante when I was kind of second guessing myself. And I was thinking that I wanted a lace weight. I'm looking for the bag. I was thinking that I wanted a little bit of a heavier lace weight, more like the Woolamized lace garn would have been. And I don't think that this is it. I think this is a different lace weight than the Ghost Light, but I don't think that it is heavier necessarily because I did a swatch. So, and this is the bag that everything is in, but I think it's tucked underneath something. Where's my swatch? Where's my swatch? Uh-oh. Well, I don't see it now. What happened to that swatch? I'm sorry. I know this is thrilling, right? Watching me dig through a bag. Oh, I bet it's tucked in there. There it is. Okay. So I did knit a swatch. I was starting to swatch with Ghost Light, which is the black, and there's the Ghost Light. But then I also swatched with this, and this is not Cephalopod, but Verdant Griffin. And this is their mithril base, or her mithril base. And it's a hand-dyed lace weight that's 100% merino. And this is the Comedia colorway. So this is the Comedia colorway in the swatch. And this is Ghost Light in the swatch. Stockinette and garter. And this is Comedia in the skein. and this is Camellia. I'm sorry, in the cake, and this is Camellia in the skein. So this just really intrigued me when I went into the booth. It was like it was calling to me because I really was very tempted. And as you can see, I tried swatching with it because I was very enthralled. But I don't think that even though blues and greens go with a lot of things, I still didn't think that it was going to be the overall look at the end that I wanted. So that's why I went with the Ghost Light. And as a matter of fact, I think the Ghost Light even looks a little bigger. So I said I was going to hold this up and show you. Both skeins are lace weight, but they're a little bit different lace weight. If you can see the Ghost Light, you can definitely see the ply. Ghost Light is the black. So you can definitely see the plies in the black. And the Mithril, the Verdant Griffin, is the greeny blue, and it's a very smooth lace weight because it's a bunch of little plies. So the Ghost Light is a 2-ply, and the Mithril, if you undo the twist, you can see is several plies. I think 5 or 6 plies. So it makes a very smooth yarn. So that's why I was thinking it was actually a little bit more substantial when I was at the homespun yarn party. But it's, as you can see, the Ghost Light actually looks like it's a little plumper when you hold it together there. So either way, I still am going to do something. So I still have enough to do Viajante if I want to knit it again with the Mithril. Or I might knit, Martina Bam also has another lace weight shawl that's more like a blanket type shawl, and it's called Nuvum. Matter of fact, I pulled it up. I thought I pulled it up. I was going to pull it up here on Ravelry as soon as I spell it properly. So you can see, I think you probably remember if you watch the Mustache podcast, Steph knit one out of her hand spun. And so there is Nuvum. And it's done in lace weight as well. And look at this one. I like the way this one is done. All with all the different layers. So, I don't know. That's a possibility for this. So this is a whole nother set, a whole nother lace shawl. Or it could be a lace cardigan or sweater for me. I don't know. But I have enough to do what I want to with it. So that was purchase number 2 at the Homespun Yarn Party. And purchase number 3 was fiber. So while I was in the Dragonfly Fibers booth, a friend of mine bought me this necklace that I'm wearing today from a cute little booth, and I'm going to try and find their card. So the necklace is done with, I'm going to forget it. It's a type of spinning. It's got a center coil, core spinning. There we go. The necklace is core spun with little baubles done. And I actually have done this type of spinning before, but it's not my favorite type. Oh, that's the tie. And I just thought it was really, really neat. And I am going to take it off so you can see it closer. If I wasn't sitting where I am and it wouldn't look like an idiot trying to get closer to the screen, I would just slide closer. But can you see how it's core spun? So it's wrapped. The spinning is now being wrapped around this center core, and then you push together every once in a while to get the little baubles. And so I think it's really neat. I really, really like it. So while I was buying that, she was next door buying this from, not them, it was from A Little Teapot. A Little Teapot Designs. Very cute. So they had a bunch of these necklaces. And they are an Etsy shop. There's their address on Etsy. Etsy.com/shop. A Little Teapot Designs. Very cute. And they won me over because they had, and I was just out, and I didn't want to make a new order and pay for shipping. I was just out of my Lolo bars. They had lotion bars. So I bought a lotion bar from them. And I also saw these lovely bats, so I bought a bat. They had, oh, and it smells so good. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. So a little tea bat. This is an art tea bat, hand dyed and hand blended. And in this is wool, Falkland, Island Merino, local BFL lamb, and local Cormo. It also has silk, tussa, sari thread, and noils. Oh, so those are the silks. It's got tussa silk, sari silk, sari threads, and silk noils, all in the loveliness. So I think that is going to be really fun to spin. I find that if you spin these like a medium thickness, not too thin, because you won't see the true colors, and then your silk noils will pop out too much. But I find that if you spin this like a medium weight, like probably by itself, like a fingering weight by itself, or maybe a little bit thicker, maybe like a sport weight by itself, it turns out really nice just as a single by itself, but then plying it also together with something else would be really, really nice. Oh, and I think this also has a little bit of Angora in it. They crossed off cashmere, and it does also, you probably saw it, does also have a little bit of sparkle in it. So very nice bat, nice and soft and fluffy. I really like it. So I bought that too, since I was buying a lotion bar anyway. So those were my purchases. I thought I was pretty controlled, although I had not planned, and I could have seen, there's the little teapot right attached to the bag. Even though I had not planned on buying the lace weight yarn, I think it was still a good deal, and I think it was still a good purpose, because I think I'm going to use it soon. So those were my purchases. And I also picked up, I thought I picked up another, oh, this is why it smells good. They gave me a little cedar and lemongrass pest repellent sachet. I'm going to put this in my yarn that I keep out in my bedroom, so that it, hopefully the moths don't find it, because we have a big moth problem. And so far, I mean, I've only ever had that one skein of lace weight that I had hoped to knit Viajante with. I've only had that yarn be affected by moths. I see moths all the time, so I don't think the moths that we have are the ones that eat wool. I think the moths we have are the ones that eat oatmeal and those things in my cabinets, because they're always in my kitchen. Brr. So, and I thought I had picked up another I thought I picked up, oh, I bet it's underneath there. Nope. I thought I picked up a card. There was a woman, oh, that was that camel designs. This shop had the best feeling, the camel shop. She had BFL that I swear had silk in it, and she said it was straight BFL. And if I was still in the market for buying more spinning fiber, I would have gotten it. The camel shop, she was so nice, and she had beautiful colorways. She had this one braid that was kind of, it's the same colors I always use, which is why it didn't tempt me that much that I went ahead and bought it. But she had a braid that was oranges and purples together, and I do a lot of oranges and purples already, so I didn't get it, but it felt so nice. Oh my goodness. So hand-spun yarn, hand-dyed yarns, fibers, and handcrafted items. And she is on Ravelry. She is Camel Shop, and she's got her own website, www.camelshop.com. So if you want some BFL that feels like it's got silk in it, go see her. Beautiful, beautiful fiber. Oh my goodness, I really wanted it. So maybe one day when I've done a little more spinning, maybe when I've spun my bin like I'm supposed to, maybe I'll allow myself to go get some BFL from her, because that was just so nice. So is that it? So that's all that I got at the Homespun Yarn Party. However, I had some clubs come in, so there's a lot of enabling this time. I am part of the Dragonfly Fibers group, and so the March Club Dragonfly came just before I went, and it's for those socks. So in order to knit those socks, because you see they go all the way to her knees, you of course need 2 skeins of yarn. La! Beautiful, right? Beautiful. So I was also trying to see, this is the Damsel skein. So it's 335 yards of a superwash merino, 5 to 6 stitches to an inch. So a nice fingering weight, maybe even a heavier fingering weight. And I was really trying to see and talk myself into a Viajante out of this. Because I'm like, if I just buy another skein or two, I could have it, right? I have 600 yards here, so another one would be 9. If I bought 2 more, I could have had 1,200 yards. I bet that would do it because this is bigger. Anyway, beautiful, beautiful. This colorway is called Love Your Mother, and in parentheses, Earth. And I just think it is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know. The fiber content on this, it's all superwash merino. So I would be tempted to not knit socks out of this, but to make it a shawl. But I have a shawl that's this color. So I don't know. It's beautiful though. I love, love, love this colorway. Very, very nice. I was very, very excited by this shipment. Oh, it's beautiful. Greens and blues and browns. Definitely Mother Earth. So that was the March Dragonfly Fibers Club shipment. But I also am a part of Club Awesome. And Club Awesome was Dragonfly Fibers this time too. So I've just got a whole new outlook. A whole new stash of Dragonfly Fibers. So for Dragonfly, what is that letter? Oh. So for Dragonfly Fibers, for Dragonfly Fibers, they sent this pattern, the Melon Lace Bolero, and this is actually just notes on the pattern. The actual pattern gets emailed to you for a little bolero. So it's that in the front, and it does have armholes, and it's that in the back. And they sent more lace weight. They sent their lace weight in this beautiful color. This is their sparkle lace, and it's 875 yards per skein of 75% merino, 20% silk, and 5% stellina. And this is in the 4 Green Fields colorway, and I thought that was pretty appropriate since it was March that they had the March shipment, so it's very shamrocky, I think. So, and I like that, and I really like that color green. Very, very nice. I have more of their lace weight. It's their squishy lace, which I think this is, but the sparkle lace is just has the sparkle in with it. But I have the squishy lace in the Airport Hot Sauce color, and so I'm wondering what I could do seasonal with that might be like Halloween into Christmas, because the Airport Hot Sauce is kind of a it's kind of an orangey red, so it might go with Halloween and it might go with Christmas. You never know. So I don't know. I've been tossing that around, how I could maybe do the two of those together. So Dragonfly Fibers everywhere, which is okay by me. And you know, I learned something. I learned a nice little tidbit from the Homespun Yarn Party, and that was that I'm not going to remember which sock base, but the Dragonfly Fibers and Neighborhood Fiber Company share a sock base. Because I was looking for, I was in the Neighborhood Fiber booth, and I really wanted some of her sock yarn. Her studio sock, I love. I think it's very similar to the Genie sock, but she said no, it was something else, and I don't think it was Damsel. I think it was a different sock base. But they said that it's the same. They get their yarn from the same company, and Neighborhood Fiber was waiting. She didn't have any sock yarn because she was waiting on a shipment. So I thought that was some nice insider news that they have the same sock base. I guess you know, your final decision has to be on the colorway and who, you know, which colors you like better, which dye are your tendencies lean towards. So, which both of them are brilliant. So, I mean, how could you lose, right? How could you lose? I also got my last colorway in for this is Shadow and Fiber Arts, and she has a Harry Potter club going on, and this is the last one I had signed up for. I signed up for 3 months in a row, and this colorway is from Harry Potter as well, and it is, whenever I pull them out, when it's a Harry Potter type thing, I try and guess which character it is, and I guessed wrong on this. I was thinking that this was Molly Weasley, and this is actually Hermione with the pinks and the plums and a little bit of the earth tones. So I asked my mother which one she thought it was, and she got it right. So this one is all BFL, and it's 4 ounces, and it's there you can see it, Hermione colorway. So I'm really excited to spin these colors up. I got Hermione and Ron and Ginny, and I think that maybe they all might need to go into a project together. So I wonder what I could find to get into that way. That would be fun to look and see what kind of a project I could do, because Hermione is BFL, Ginny is super fine merino, and I want to say Ron is something similar to BFL. It's not the superwash merino, but it's very similar, I think. So I'm wondering what, and you guys just saw my pajama pants. I'm wondering what I could do to spin all 3 of them very similarly and use them all in the same project. So I'm wondering, or maybe I could do 3, spin all of them and do 3 of the same project, but use the different yarns to see how they turn out differently. That might be interesting too. That might be an owl project right there. So I told you about the Verdant Griffin. I told you about Club Awesome. I told you about Harry Potter. Maryland Sheep and Wool is still coming up, because I know this is a little bit of Mulberry Street. So Maryland Sheep and Wool is the next event coming up. Actually, my knitting group is this Saturday, and I'm hoping I can go. I'm hoping the lacrosse games and the weather cooperate, that I'll be presentable at the end of the lacrosse games in order to go into a public place and sit and knit for a couple hours. So I do have knitting coming up, but Maryland Sheep and Wool is the next big event going on, and I can't wait for Maryland Sheep and Wool. I call it my birthday party because it's always right around my birthday, and my family's already asked, do you want a gift, or do you just want to be able to go to the festival? And of course I want to go to the festival, so yay, my birthday present will come in money form so I can go spend it at the festival. Yay. So I think that's it for this time.